Good evening and salutations, my Y&R fans. This review is going to be a little different because I didn't take any notes, but for the most part, I still remember it, and I want to give my thoughts on the episode. Um, Jack and Christina's conversation was entirely pointless because Jack is sitting there trying to plead Diane's case, and Christina's like, "Listen, we got evidence, and it is what it is. I can't sit there and give you information on what we have." And so she's like, at this point, whatever happens, happens. All well, she didn't do it and she couldn't have done it and this, that, and the third, she ain't hearing it. So the entire conversation of what he was trying to do was pointless. Another pointless conversation was Kyle and Summer. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. Summer, in a lot of ways, I feel like she has to blame Diane to some extent because maybe it's a way to absolve her guilt of how she treated her, which, to be honest, I think she treated her like an adult, and I think that Phyllis acted like a child, but she needs somebody to sit there and blame. And Kyle was sitting there saying that there's no way she could have did it. She's not a killer. She wouldn't do something like that. Do you know how long your mother has been gone for? People do change. Nothing really gets resolved. So, at the end of the day, it's still another pointless conversation. Now, speaking of pointless, we're going to talk about Mariah and Tess. Yep, Mariah and Tess. Because the studio in this show does not give a damn about Mariah and Tess. They come in, they talk about the baby and how happy that they are. And I'm going to be honest, does anyone actually care about their new baby storyline? It's very difficult to actually care when we barely see them on the show. And they don't give us a storyline. The storyline that they did give them, the majority of it happened off screen. So we don't really have too much of anything. But I want to sit there and talk about my favorite part. And of course, that is the Nate, Victoria, and Nick scene. So at this point, they're just getting it on in the office. This chick is moaning so loud. Audrey's just like, damn, this dude gets down like that. Eventually, Nick comes to the door. He knocks on the door. And, at this point, what was even the point of them really trying to get dressed like he was just not going to notice anything? So, on top of the fact that the door's locked, and when, she opens the door, he walks in, and it's like he just smells sex. There's just no other way to sit there and put it at this point. He walks in, and Nate's like, yeah, I'm just going to get a drink at the bar. He leaves. And Nick at this point, he's like, yo, listen, I may not be the most observant guy, but I know what's going on here. And Victoria's like, well, what are you talking about? Nothing's happened. Victoria. This dude's sitting there missing buttons. You're missing buttons. Your hair's a mess. And you're going to sit there and tell this man that nothing happened in his office when the door is locked? Come on. Really? So at this point, she's like, yeah, it happened. It is what it is. And at this point, Nick starts trying to judge her, which I'm like, bro, listen, stay in your lane. You are the judge of no one in this situation. You literally did the exact same thing that Victoria did with Sally. You cheated on Sharon with Phyllis, and you want to stand there with that holier than thou attitude and there judging her? Are you kidding me? Now the only leg he got to stand on in this whole conversation is the fact that he doesn't trust Nate. Given his history, he wants to then make sure that the company's going to be okay. Making sure that he's not trying to move in on her and use her for power or something like that, because apparently that's what you do when you get in these type of positions. But at this point, Victoria's like, listen, I got nothing to explain to you. I'm a grown ass woman. Um, Besides, I got a lot of work to do or whatever. I'm very busy. And then Nick picked up those papers, plopped it on her desk, This dude was like, yeah, you could sit there and start with fixing your hair, and just walked out. And I'm not gonna lie, that was hilarious. That was hilarious because he did make a comment about her hair before, like, so that's usually how you just keep your hair. You just all messy, just all wild, like you just don't give a damn. He plopped those people in the desert, like, yeah, start with fixing your hair. He just walks out. I was like, I like that. But of course, Nick isn't done. And he has to sit there and give Nate a piece of his mind. And, he's like, what's going on with you and my sister? And now Nate's sitting there like, oh, there's nothing going on. I was like, bro, we're adults here. Even he was like, yo, listen, I played that game with my sister. I'm not doing this with you. And of course, he starts sitting there saying, he starts judging him. You're like, you can't be doing this. This is wrong. Yada, yada, yada. And plus, you have a girlfriend. And still, I'm like, bro, please stop. So Elena comes in. And Elena's like, what's up with you two? What are y'all talking about? And of course, Nick, he has a little dig at him, talking about, oh, she's a very pretty girl. You're a very lucky man, and just walks off. And Elena's like, what? Like, seriously, what did I just walk in on? And of course, he makes us some BS excuse, talking about, oh, yeah, he's just giving me an earful about, me becoming obsessed with power, and I'm just kind of sick of hearing it. And when she does find out, I wonder what she's going to do. Is she going to sit there and fight for her man, or is she just going to sit there and say, kick rocks and I'm out? I personally think she should just sit there and say, kick rocks and I'm out, because no one deserves to be cheated on. But, I guess time will sit there and tell. Now, Phyllis. All right. I had to sit there and do this twice. Normally, I don't eat during my videos, but at this point, screw it. Let's talk about Phyllis for a minute. Phyllis and Jeremy Stark, at this point, I don't understand why this guy is supposed to be so intimidating. He hasn't actually done anything intimidating since he got this show. Be it everyone's that they're quaking in their boots. Diane's like, oh, he's such a dangerous man. What has he done? What has he done to make him such a dangerous person? But he walks in that room and he sees Phyllis. He's like, what the hell are you doing? I told you, like, we have to sit there and stick to the plan. You're sitting there trying to get us both, like, caught. Like, what are you doing? Of course, at this point, Phyllis is like, oh, I'm allowed to change my mind. And I'm like, Phyllis, you're an idiot. But she's like, I'm allowed to change my mind. And, I want to sit there and go see my kids. I want to sit there and tell them everything. And at this point, if this was a movie or regular TV show, that chick would have been dead. Because at this point, I'm like, bro, it's much more easy and much more convenient to just kill her than to just leave her roaming free. Have this woman sit there and give you back talk and stuff like that. I'm not afraid of you. You don't tell me what to do. You're not the boss of me. Bro, you're supposed to have this you're supposed to have this intimidating reputation. You're actually gonna have a little follow through and keep up with it, or you're just gonna let this chick just start, telling you off. It's it's such a funny and silly scene when you start to think about it, because it's like, again, in any other medium, this chick would have been dead. But of course, because it's soap opera and not going to really kill us Phyllis, he just threatens her like, listen, you have to stay dead. And if you don't do that, then I'm going to make it real. I'm like, bro. This is just so dumb, but sure, whatever. Um, Oh yeah, and Adam and Sally's there, and Adam's sitting there thanking Sally for, allowing him to come to the appointment. And I'm just looking at this whole thing like, why are you thanking her for? Like, this is your child as well. You don't need to sit there and kiss her feet and thank her for her allowing you to come to this appointment where it's your child also. Like, I'm not exactly feeling that. But they talk about if it's a boy or if it's a girl, because I don't think they actually went yet. Um, which, whatever. Honestly, to tell you the truth, the conversation doesn't really go anywhere. But, he thanks her for some odd reason that just is not really sitting well with me, but whatever. I just don't understand how people can still be Mariah and Tess fans when the network is I mean, the show is literally showing you that they do not care about them. And we probably won't even really sit there and see them after today. So I just don't understand how people are still fans of these characters that don't even really get any airplay. I don't get it. I mean, like, I genuinely want to ask the question, like, is anyone actually invested in this baby storyline? I don't know. I don't get it. Um, that's pretty much all I can remember. I normally don't do reviews if I didn't sit there and take any notes, but I wanted to get my thoughts on it because I do love talking about Y&R. I do love talking about Y&R, and maybe at some point, when I'm sitting there watching, I'll sit there and take down a couple of notes this way I can have a better idea. But just my overall thoughts. Most of this episode is, eh. I personally think the Nick and Victoria and Nate stuff is the best. Um, After that, for the most part, it just kind of goes downhill. It's just kind of pointless. And the scene between Jeremy Stark and Phyllis is just laughable at this point. So there's that. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.